Celtic music especially is just such social music, and that's what I love about it. Yeah, harps especially are such a friendly community. I don't think I've ever met a harp player I didn't like. Get people to arrange whenever I can.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you doing today?
Hi, Victoria. I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
So, when I talked to Carol, she told me to check out your work. And I have to admit, like, I actually don't know a lot about Harpwell until I start doing this project. And I dabble into the work that you do. I got very interested in your music journey and your approach towards harp music. So, I'm very excited to have you here to talk about your harp journey and all things harp. So, let's start with that question. What was your music journey and how do you end up with the harp?
I started out playing piano from the time I was little, but I always liked to play it by ear. I never wanted to sit down and learn how to read sheet music. My poor mother tried to teach me. I didn't want to do it. um, but she's actually my parents both had a big influence on what kind of music I like, because my mom was more into Renaissance choirs and classical and things like that. My dad was more into folk music, so we had folk CDs and Celtic CDs lying around. Um, but I actually found the harp when I was a young adult, and I was looking online for a lute because I love English Renaissance music. And then I found one of those cheap Pakistani harps and thought, I like Celtic music too, I'll try this. So I bought that, started teaching myself, just, simple Celtic tunes like Skyboat Song and whatnot. Yeah, and just kind of fell in love with it. Soon after that, I should say the best thing about it was I found, learning by ear with the folk harp that was allowed. So I loved that about it. But soon after that, a lady I knew at my church invited me to the Ohio Scottish Games, where there was a harp competition. So that was 2008, I think, the first year I went, and I was just hooked. I mean, there was so many harp crazy people. There was a harp circle. So I just remember the first time I touched an actual, harp string. I just still remember feeling that, oh, I need to get one of these. So
And you
yeah.
actually studied Celtic music, didn't you?
So I was mostly I say saying I'm self-taught is kind of a misnomer. I am mostly self-taught, but I feel like I've learned from so many people. I started going to this the same organization which puts on the Ohio Scottish Games also puts on the Ohio Scottish Art School, which is pretty close, practically my backyard. So I started going there in 2011, and it's just a week-long Scottish harp camp where you learn tunes by ear. And they have all different levels, world-renowned teachers. They always have a teacher from Scotland as well, and it's just a great time. Get to know people and learn the traditional music. And then I've had lessons here and there from different people. I think harps have had a leg up on things because we've always been teaching on Zoom,
Yeah,
even before this pandemic. So
definitely.
yeah.
Awesome. And what about learning by ear, beyond, the obvious fact that we don't have to read sheet music, is an advantage? Because I know that is the tradition in a lot of places, which is quite different than, say, like the classical piano, where we,
Right.
we're glued to the sheet music and we have to play everything note by note. What are some
Right.
advantages of learning by ear, and how do we go about getting started on that?
Yeah, that's the thing about folk music is unlike classical, it invites you to put your own spin on it. And it's amazing how tunes have evolved over several hundreds of years. Like you might have one tune with one name that's played this way in Scotland, and almost the same tune with a different name that's played in Ireland, and it's just interesting to see that game of telephone over the years, like how they change because people have learned them by ear and passed them down that way. Um, I like, honestly, I like both. I think it's really advantageous if you can do both, play by ear and learn by sheet music. Because obviously you're not always going to have a recording to learn from or someone to teach you. So it's nice to be able to at least read a melody. Um, but it's great, again, if you don't have it written out in sheet music and you can just learn it by ear. And again, put your own spin on it. It sort of forces you to be think outside the box and be really creative about it. And some people, I think too, I tend to memorize music better when I've learned it by ear than if I've learned it by sheet music, I've noticed. And some other people told me that as well. It sort of sticks in their heads better if you learned it by rote that way.
I agree because well I'm used to learning from sheet music, and the one time that I tried to learn by ear was when my teacher Josh Lane created a video on Down by Sally Gallons, and he was describing it, how to move your hand and where to go, and I found myself suddenly remembering the tune way easier because of all those other cues that you don't get from just staring at a sheet music. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's true. I'm not even hearing it, but yeah, noticing like the patterns your fingers are making and just being really observant, honing in that way. I think it's very advantageous. Yeah.
Yeah. And you do some videos called Tune Tutors in your YouTube where you teach by years. So if we're gonna learn by year, what are some of the things that as a learner we should pay attention to when we're working through with your videos?
Yeah, yeah. I think like we had just sort of touched on. There's different ways of approaching it, right? Some people naturally have a really good ear and just pick up things really easily, and that's great. Some people might want to pay more attention to the the shapes you're making with your fingers and what it looks like and what it feels like, or a combo of that. 2 1 2 3, skip the F. Same crab shape. 3 2 1.
So in one of the videos I have watched you have trot out this book. I can't remember the name, but it has a really super long title,
Oh
and
yes,
it
I
was
know what you're
basically
talking about.
yes, and it was basically melody lines for a collection of music written by someone. So I noticed that's very common in a lot of folk music where you only get a melody line and you don't necessarily get the accompaniment. And in your Facebook group, you have talked about uh, arranging your own music. And I understand that arranging music and helping other arranging music is a big passion of yours. Talk to us about arranging music and why is that a good skill to have when you're playing perhaps folk music or maybe even other music? And how do we go about and get started on that?
Yeah, yeah. So, like we were talking about before, how folk music especially is just invites you to be individual and put your own spin on it. That's what I love about arranging yourself. Plus, I mean, it's so nice to also be able to arrange something to your level. If maybe this I like this tune, but this arrangement I found is advanced and I'm more of a beginner. Just being able to understand the basics of just a little bit of theory, so you know a bit where you're going and what you're doing, is super helpful. Um, I like when I teach arranging. I like to start with just some basic chord theory. Like you only have six, seven, but essentially six chords you're going to work with in any given key, right? Because one of them is going to be diminished and might not sound great. But you have three major and three minor, and that takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So just starting with your melody, learning your melody well. Your melody is going to inform what chord you choose, right? Because your melody is always going to have a note that is in one of these chords, pretty much, that you're going to choose. Um, a lot of times folk melodies will have straight up, triads in them. So I'm like, okay, I'll probably play this chord in my left hand because it's exactly what the melody's doing. But yeah, starting with, if it's a major tune, plugging in your three major chords just wherever they sound good. And I think you have to get rid of the idea of, you have to get rid of the fear of sounding bad, because you're never going to do anything. If you're afraid of sounding bad, you are going to sound bad. That's okay. Just accept it, right? So just try, just trying out those three major chords on the downbeat in your major tune, start with that skeletal outline, and then you can start substituting those three minor chords sometimes and see which ones might go well where. And then once you have your chords down, that's really, 75% of it. And then you've got to decide, your left hand patterns, right? So maybe you're probably just not going to play block chords the whole way, but different kinds of patterns you can do. Those 1, 5, 8, 9, 10s we like to do so much, and things based on that.
1, 5, 8, 9, 10. I'm sure you've seen this before. We used a lot of this in Starlight.
And you pretty much have an arrangement right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like that when your Facebook group members post their arrangement and
Yeah.
they're giving each other feedback, and that's so neat. And that's another aspect about what you do that I really enjoy is that you're putting a lot of resources out there and helping the learners to learn how to play Celtic and folk music. So tell us about the different platforms and learning resources that you're offering, and how can we take advantage of them as learners?
Sure. So I do teach private students, so I'm not taking on new ones at the moment. Um, I also do Zoom workshops every now and again. This past one I did was actually with Amelia Romano. We were talking about her earlier.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of foundational things like technique and ear training, theory, arranging, different things like that. And uh, next year I have a couple coming up, which I do not have dates for yet, but one's going to be on harp and voice, so accompanying yourself singing. All hail to the days that merit more praise than all the rest of the year. And that one will have a harp workshop, and then as well we're also going to have a voice lesson for whoever wants that. And then I'm also going to be doing another one with Nye Farley, who's in Sheffield in the UK. He plays guitar and is really great at session backing. So we're going to do a full-on Zoom workshop about backing for Irish sessions. Yeah.
And how do we stay in touch with when these workshops are coming up?
Yes, that will all be on my email list is the best way to get to know about it. So I think you'll have a link for that, right? I mean, you can also go to my website, tiffanyharpensong.com. And is spelled out, A-N-D. So,
Awesome.
but yeah, I also do a subscription service, which I call the Mastering Celtic Music Club, and that is on Patreon. So it's on patreon.com/tiffanyharpensong. And there's several things we do there. There is a monthly Zoom harp session that we do. We alternate Wednesdays and Saturdays of the month. And we just get together and play tunes we've been learning, Zoom style, right? So usually I'm leading and everyone else will be muted, but at least they'll hear me, so it gets rid of the time lag. But that's a lot of fun. We chat and visit in between. And sometimes we will compose a tune together. We'll do round robin composing where one person takes a phrase and the other one continues it, and you keep going until you have a tune or a song. I think we've done 4 or 5 songs so far. But that's a lot of fun. Yeah. We also do over there, every month I put out a downloadable video workshop. It's usually a tune and arrangement to learn. Right now I always like to do one verse for late beginner around there, and then another verse for like late intermediate, so you kind of catch a few different levels. A couple of times over there I've actually done an arrange your own format where I teach the tune and then I teach them left hand patterns and people can plug them in where they want, so I give them a blank bass line to put it in. try and get people to arrange whenever I can. but but yeah, we do that. That happens every month, and then I also put the sheet music on there. So yeah, that's a fun place to be.
Yeah, it does. And especially I think for harp, like I'm not familiar with your area, but definitely for me, I find it hard to connect with other adult harp learner in my area.
Yeah.
And it's, I think with the technology that allow us to do it, it's such a great way to, and not only just have a bunch of learners trying to, the blind leading the blind, but having someone like you to run the group, I think it's very great idea.
We have so much fun. It really is. Oh, and I should say we actually just started this past Tuesday. We just started a new thing on that website on Patreon, where we are doing group technique lessons. So every other Tuesday for now, we're gonna get together and just talk about different aspects of technique. It's great for like people who are self-taught or don't have time for lessons right now. Just kind of get some feedback. And again, like you said, meet other adult learners.
That's awesome. I'm gonna post a link to your Patreon in our video description so those who are interested can check it out. And you mentioned about singing, and I know one of the things you do well in your website, your harp and song. So you sing while you play.
Hmm.
Uh, I know some people, myself included, who wants to get started with singing while playing, but it's easier said than done. What are some of your tips and tricks on singing and harping at the same time?
Yeah, don't play the melody.
No.
Right? Why?
That's true. You're gonna be singing it
Right? Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I mean, and some people do that, or maybe you'll do little bits of it sometimes. That's fine if you like that. But I say, yeah, if you're gonna just start out singing and playing, just take a, like we were talking about, figure out your chords, right? Wherever those are gonna go, um, and just play really simple things to start out with. If it's in three, like green sleeves, I'm playing two stacked triads, one on top of the other, and then just go down chord wise, and you're good. That's all you need, you know.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, very simple. It's a great way to start, and it sounds great. And people are like, "Oh, it's a harp, and you're singing, and it's wonderful." Yeah. But yeah, that's all you need. Keep it simple when you're singing. Like you don't have to do really complicated things. You could save that for the bridge, or the opening and ending, or the where you play the tune, in the middle while you're breaking from singing. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't work too hard.
I can see why the arranging your own things or having some of those theories is going to be very helpful in many ways when it comes
Yeah,
to playing and the harp and even with singing. That's
yeah, yeah.
awesome. And you also play with other people. I noticed that you're in Cleveland Celtic Ensemble and probably a couple other ones that maybe I have missed. But tell us about working with other musicians. What's that like to be a harpist playing with others? And do you have any memorable stories with working with other peoples?
Yeah, that's something I have only been doing for I'd say the past year or two, a couple of years, is just getting into playing with other people, and I found out I've loved it. Um, for one, it's sort of when you're performing, I feel like with other people, they sort of absorb all the nervousness, so you get less nervous. So, and if we make a mistake, it might not be me, so it takes the pressure
It's
off.
true.
Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, Cleveland, I'm blessed, has such a nice Irish American community. So there's quite a bit of Irish players here, which is nice. The band I'm in now called Creggane, we we met each other at a session, and then we played together at one of their grandfather's funeral. The music minister said, "Do you want to do a concert here?" So that's how the one band became. Um, yeah, and then that one's more of just a good old Irish band, and the other one is Cleveland Celtic Ensemble, where we have some uilleann pipes and some Scottish small pipes and fiddle and myself, and we kind of veer off into Baroque sometimes, or I think we can go off into like Renaissance too, which is really nice. But yeah, so they're kind of different but the same groups, and just playing with different instruments really stretches a person, I think, because you need to figure out what sounds good with them, not just sounds good by yourself, you know. especially in the one in Creggane, we have a guitarist now. So I've got to figure out, how to not, on the one hand, not be drowned out. On the other hand, like not, find something that goes with what he's playing. So it's because we're both chord instruments. So that's different. But yeah, it definitely stretches you, makes you think outside the box. And it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of camaraderie in bands.
Yeah, and that's something again I think is so cool about folk music. Is
Yeah,
there's that tradition of playing with others, and you just mentioned
really, yeah.
session, which one of my heart friends she wanted to get us going and playing in sessions. What does playing in sessions mean? And do you know of any resources to get started on playing sessions in North America?
Yes, I have a video on that.
Oh,
with,
okay. We're gonna have to put the
with
link in there.
yeah, with Nye Farley, the guitarist I mentioned before. We did a video on playing in sessions. He did one on my channel, and then I did one on his channel with the harp. Um, but yes, getting started in sessions, and I agree with you that Celtic music, especially, is just such social music, and that's what I love about it. I think I came to the harp more um, because of just Celtic music, the social aspect of it, rather than the harp itself. But it's a great way to meet friends for sure. I would see if there was any like Irish American clubs in your area. Sometimes that or any Irish themed pubs. Sometimes they will have sessions every now and then. But going first, I think before you bring your instrument is a good idea, just to kind of get a feel for what kind of tunes they play. Are they, if you're a beginner, are they more beginner friendly? Would they be okay with that? Are they okay with the harp? Some people might not be. I've been blessed whenever I bring in a harp, they're like, oh, let's play Carillon. It's a harp, it's great. But I know not everyone has had that experience. So, but yeah, just feeling out if there's any rules of the session. You don't want to get a reputation for a session ruiner, for sure. But yeah, generally the people I've met have been like really friendly and really accepting of the harp, and you know, just think of yourself as a big guitar, because you don't have to play the melody again, because a lot of people are playing the melody in a session.
Right.
So even just starting with block fifths, it could sound great. Playing fifths in the left or fourths, you don't have to make it complicated at all. Usually in Celtic music, fifths, open fifths sound really good. Depending on, because sometimes you'll get, the different modes, and maybe that C sharp should actually be a C natural this time, and it's not here, and yeah, so fifths are safe. Octaves or rocked octaves back and forth are easy to pick up, and can easily be played with a fast melody in the right. But yeah, just starting with, again, those three basic chords. If it's a major Celtic tune, you're pretty much going to be playing, if it's in G, you're pretty much going to be playing G, C, D, and pretty much the same order for like 90% of the tunes. So, I mean, a lot of them have the same chord progression. G, A, D's, G, A, D, G, A, G, A, D. So, don't let the fastness, the speed scare you. It's a lot of the same chord progressions that you can just plunk away and be good. Yeah.
Okay, I think my strategy might be just start with a beer or two, get myself a little bit tipsy, and then I'll forget about
Yeah.
all the
Right.
fastness and just go with it.
Right, right. Yeah,
Oh,
because I think it's easy. You hear all these fast melodies, and you're like, I can't play that. But you don't have to. Just, if it's a jig, it's, you can play it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're good. Like, that's really
that's
all you need.
true.
That's a good place to start. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you have arranged quite a lot of music, which I think they're available on Sheet Music Plus, if I
Yes,
remember
that's right.
correctly. What kind of music can we expect in there? Probably a lot of Celtic, but is there any other that we can find in your collection?
Yes, a lot of Celtic music. I do, the ones that aren't Celtic are Christmas music, I would say.
Okay. Which is
So a
good
lot
because
of,
Christmas is coming up soon.
yeah, and of course I have a lot of Celtic Christmas tunes in there too. But yeah, Christmas music, and then I do have some things for small harp for 26 string. Sometimes, what I've been doing on Patreon lately, with the monthly sheet music lesson, is I will like to do the first arrangement is easier and for small harp, and then the next arrangement for the same tune is for a larger harp and maybe more intermediate. So some of them are hybrids like that. Like Sylvia Woods does a lot of her books, or she'll have the easy one and then the harder one. Yes. So a lot of Celtic things. There are a couple ones on there, or at least one that is a session accompaniment, or like a harp duet. So someone can play the melody, and or you could also take harp two and play that at a session type of a thing. Yeah, I've got a couple like that as well.
And speaking of the community aspect of playing Celtic music, I noticed that you have quite the community there in your Facebook group, Mastering Celtic Music Learning Resource Group. Tell us about this group, and I know you put a lot of things in there for us to dabble. So, what can we find in there?
Yeah, yeah. So this is, I know it's got the same name as my Patreon group, but it is a different thing. This is a free Facebook group that you can join, and it is really, I wanted it to be a resource group where you can just go back and find things that you need. So Facebook does this thing now where they have group guides for certain groups if you want them. So if you go to our group, which is facebook.com/groups/mastering Celtic music, long name, and you go to join, and then you click on the guides tab, you will see there is a folder for arranging for Celtic harp. So I have some websites and some videos in there that'll just give you tips for arranging. I have one for small harps in there too. I was going to say that. 5 tips for arranging for small harp. There's a folder on session playing. So there is some recordings you can play along with. There's some tips on session playing. There's a folder for music theory. There's a folder for free sheet music collections for Celtic music. There's a couple folders for tune tutorials. There's just all kinds of stuff in there. It's chock full, and I'm adding stuff as we go. So.
And there are other musicians that are not playing the harp in there too, because this is a
Yes.
folk group, isn't it?
Yes, it's very harp heavy right now, I think, but my dream is to kind of just have like all sort of Celtic folk musicians in there having discussions about it. So I hope it keeps growing and we do that.
Yeah. And I think it's a good supplement to what you're offering in Patreon too. Like I think they go hand in hand together.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to have this slightly more accessible, place to have discussions with each other. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah. And has this always been your I guess you have in some way answered this question that I was going to ask you already, because you said it was the community aspect of the Celtic music that really drew you into doing this work. Where do you see yourself growing this group and perhaps your community in the future? Where would you like to be, and where would you like to take us with you in the
Oh,
next little
wow.
bit?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've thought too much about that. I just kind of go with where I am right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to be able to do more. Well, yes, I want to be able to do more, like we said, face to face things. Right now, I'm doing a lot of um, pre-recorded workshops, like I said, on Patreon. I am thinking about moving that to more of a live Zoom thing because I really enjoy the face-to-face aspect of it. Um, Plus, it's nice to just be able to ask questions to the person and get feedback and encourage each other. And yeah, yeah, harps are such a harps especially are such a friendly community. I don't think I've ever met a harp
Yes.
player I didn't like.
Oh,
Not
that's really
really.
good to know, isn't it? And it I would agree with that evaluation actually, because ever
Yeah,
since I have played the harp, I've noticed how many friendly harpers there are, and harpers and harp player. You can call them whatever, but as long
yeah.
as we're all playing the harp, everyone seems to be really lovely, and that's great. And I really enjoy belonging to a community, and I really see the work that you're doing as building a community for Celtic music to be a very important part of I think a lot of our journey. So thank you so much for investing your time and energy in putting these together.
Oh, absolutely. This is the best job I've ever had.
Has it always been your dream to be a musician, full-time musician?
Not really. No,
No.
no. It I would say it pretty much all changed after I found the harp. Yeah, I just fell into all this. Yeah, it's
That seems
great.
to be a common theme for all the guests is like somehow their life lead them to the harp, and then their life just change, and it's all about the harp.
Yes, we found our people
Yeah, we found
for
our
sure.
tribe for sure. Well, how can we stay in touch with all the different things that you're doing? What is the best way?
Yeah, you can sign up to my email list. That's probably the best way to not miss out on events and things. Um, you can find my website at tiffanyharpensong.com. I'm also on Facebook at Tiffany Harp and Song, Instagram. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna put all that in the video description, and I'm really looking forward to see where you're gonna take the group in both Facebook and Patreon going forward. And I know that you're doing some Zoom workshops for the future. You're planning, so I encourage everyone to sign up for the mailing list, and we'll also keep you posted as these workshops are coming out.
Yay. Yes,
Thank you
wonderful.
so much for the chat, and I hope to connect with you again soon.
Thank you so much, Victoria. This has been my pleasure.